Suslenkov!
So approaching the boxing ring is Artem Suslenkov, 30 years of age from Volgograd, undefeated in the professional ranks, 13 wins out of 13, 8 of them inside the distance, and this man is a handful. IBF European heavyweight champion, ranked 4th among Russian heavyweight boxers, and you have quite a few good ones coming out of Russia. Pounding those gloves together as he approaches the boxing ring for yet another outing on the IBA.PRO stage. And again, he's competed previously, where he was in a really physical contest against Michael the Bounty Hunter. I was ringside to commentate on that contest.
Please welcome his opponent.
Here he is
from
into the black corner.
USA, Stanley Wright.
His opponent is Stanley Wright from Charlotte, North Carolina. 15 fights in his professional record, 14 wins, 11 inside the distance for a 79% KO ratio. And he preparing for his first fight as a professional outside of the United States tonight. His last fight was in June of this year. It was a technical decision. That's how his sole loss has come about. Declared on point as the defeated boxer, but it went to the scorecards after an incident during the course of that contest. So really, in terms of contest coming to a conclusion other than something on a technicality, he's always had his hand raised as the victor, preparing for his first fight overseas tonight. And there is Stanley, the Shogun Wright.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bout is sanctioned by IBA. IBA supervisor Maxim Chertykovtsev, Moldova. Your referee Sergey Zhurkin, Russia. Introducing first in the black corner. He weighed in at 106.4 kilograms. He's undefeated in his 13 fights, 13 wins, 8 by knockout. He's Russian amateur champion, IBF European heavyweight champion from Volgograd, Russia. Приветствуйте, Artem Suslenkov! And his opponent across the ring. He weighed in at 126.1 kilogram. His near perfect record consisting of 15 fights, 14 victories and just 1 defeat. 11 big wins coming by way of knockout. Ladies and gentlemen, from Charlotte, North Carolina, USA, Stanley, the Big Shogun Wright.
So, Mr. Sergey Zhurkin just checking that everything is present and correct and as it should be. There's the international title that is up for grabs. Saw IBA.PRO CEO Mr. Alciesta bringing that into the arena earlier on, and as mentioned, he was here at 7 o'clock this morning putting out the chairs. So it's been a long old shift for Mr. Siesta. It's about to be a shift of 8 rounds or less in the heavyweight division here between boxers from Russia and the United States of America. Quick look at the tail of the tape between these two compact super heavyweights, particularly when compared to the super-sized giants who operate in the sport today. We're underway then. This is 8 3-minute rounds in the heavyweight division between boxers from Russia and the United States of America. The boxer wearing the black trunks trimmed with gold is Artem Suslenkov from Volgograd in Russia, 30 years of age, an undefeated start to his professional career. No stranger to competing on the IBA.PRO stage, and the man with whom he's engaging in a test of strength in the middle of the boxing ring. That's like watching Two sumo grandmasters practice their craft, planting that back foot into the canvas and refusing to take a backward step. Well, that is Stanley Wright, the Shogun from Charlotte, North Carolina, losing his last contest on a technical decision. Here he landed a good right hand, which, oh my goodness, and an overhand right causes Wright to need to touch down, and his boxing stance is being completely disrupted. Digging away to the body, followed by left hook upstairs, is Suslenkov. And from the almost stationary stalemate that we had when the two men were testing their strength on the inside, it is the lighter man, Artem Suslenkov, who began to unload bent-arm punches at close range, and it seemed to just completely disrupt the equilibrium of Stanley Wright. His knee almost sunk down to the canvas, but he's got his stance back beneath him here now, clearly demonstrating that he has got strong legs. But he's taken another left hook upstairs, right hand to the body, and just looking to put his punches together in combination fashion is Suslenkov. Clubbing left hook landed on the inside from Stanley Wright. Now in the heavyweight division, Evander, the real deal Holyfield, told me that if you land 8 punches in a row, the fight should be over. And he said that when he landed 18 unanswered punches against George Foreman, it began to play tricks in his mind. And after being tagged in the penultimate round with a shot that he felt knocked all of his teeth out inside his double mouthpiece, he said that's why he was circumspect in the final round, resulting in boos from the crowd as he retained his heavyweight title. And I just wonder what that burst of success produced by Suslenkov will do in his mind, because he appeared to have his man going and on unsteady legs, but Stanley Wright has righted the ship and he's right back into this one. Takes a good right hand to the body, and he's coming forward and letting go clubbing punches to back up Suslenkov now. Suslenkov seeking refuge in the neutral corner as these hooks come thundering in. My goodness, this is the physical affair, and that is one of the idiosyncrasies of heavyweight boxing. Weights are announced, but once you're above the heavyweight limit, there's nothing you can do. And I think there is a considerable weight gap in between these two boxers. And my goodness, Suslenkov engaging in a grappling contest with a far bigger opponent. I'm delighted to say that Andy Clark joins us here on IBA.PRO 13. He's been busy with other duties here in Dubai, but now ringside, sat alongside me, enjoying the action and an incident-filled opening round, Andy, in this heavyweight shootout.
And I took my seat, I thought just in time to see a first round stoppage, because that looked like it was over. The way he caught him, I think high on the head, maybe even around the top of the head, and right in front of us the knees went, and I thought we were going to see him just collapse to the canvas, completely scrambled, but it didn't quite happen, and he's managed to get himself back together quite impressively, actually, Stanley Wright. And you mentioned the weight difference of 20 kilos. 20 kilos, which is what, 44 pounds, that's 3 stone. And it's a lot, isn't it? That really is a lot. So he managed to soak that up, and it'll be interesting to see how this goes now.
So we move into the second round of a scheduled 8. Two hard-hitting heavyweights sharing the ring. The majority of the first round was spent almost shoulder to shoulder as they tested the strength of one another on the inside. Bear hugs ensuing, and it was in this type of posture. And look at Stanley Wright with the man's arm around his neck, straighten up and walk him around the ring. And again, that can be quite disconcerting for a heavyweight, because almost by definition, they're usually the biggest kid in the playground. But here, Artem Suslenkov is meeting somebody who is bigger and heavier. And now Suslenkov perhaps coming with a change of strategy emerging from the black corner in the second round, because he's looking to maintain a gap between him and his opponent, because he doesn't want to be there in a physical tussle as Wright has turned southpaw, marching his man down and looking to unload hooks once again from either hand. And again, Suslenkov up on his toes, looking to use his legs. We are right next to the black corner here at the Dubai Duty Free Tennis Center, and there's a constant stream of instructions coming from Suslenkov's team. But here's that's like an isometric hold, because neither man is going anywhere. And if you want to know how taxing that is, step into your gym and push against the ring post for 30 seconds and see how you're feeling afterwards. when you're pushing in against an immovable object, well, that's a whole training system in itself, of course. In boxing magazines back in the day, it was Charles Atlas advertising what he branded as dynamic tension. After the young man was tired of having sand kicked in his face, signed up for Charles Atlas's scheme, and it was 6 weeks later, the insult that made a man out of Mac. He went back to the beach and took his revenge on the bully who embarrassed him in front of his female companions. But that's what Suslenkov is engaging in here when he's getting into these tussling matches in this type of territory with Stanley Wright. Because Stanley Wright, if he puts that back foot into the canvas, he's not going anywhere. Good right hand to the body out of the southpaw stance from Wright, and then a good burst of combination punches, just causing Wright to sway a little bit. Good right hook to the chin from Suslenkov. Hitting and holding from the free right hand. And then Suslenkov with a good burst of punches, and the body shot has bent over Stanley Wright. And he appears just to be wading his way through water for the moment. But again, he appears to be distressed, but he's recovering almost instantly, because he was rocking and swaying after the body shot, and now his feet appear as solid as can possibly be in the canvas again. Well, as I say that, there's just a little bit of a totter forward, and a clumping left hook landed on the bell.
And it really did look like he was about ready to go again then. And as you say, he just manages to get himself back together quite quickly. He was right up above us. There was a body shot in there. There were a couple of headshots. And for Suslenkov, this is a bit confusing probably, because he'll be wondering whether he should put his foot down more, or maybe he should be trying to conserve a bit more, because this guy's going to hang around for the duration. That left hand there to the head, you just saw his eyes just close on it. And I did wonder at that point if Suslenkov was about to get the knockdown, but knocking this man down is obviously going to be a difficult thing to do, because he is an absolute unit, Stanley Wright. When you look at him, okay, around the hips and the belly, there's some spare there, but the frame is massive, isn't it? He's a genuinely really big guy, and he soaks up those shots pretty well.
So we move into the third round in a contest that is scheduled for 8. And again, to Andy Clark's point, in between rounds 2 and 3, what type of approach should Suslenkov take here? Because while he has his man seemingly ready to go in each of the first 2 rounds, his recovery has been pretty rapid, and he's been able to march his way forwards once again. If he is looking to take him out inside the distance, well, this perhaps going to be a mission akin to chopping down an oak tree. It was Abraham Lincoln who said, give me 6 hours to chop down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 hours sharpening the blade. Is a similar sentiment going to have to be implemented here by Suslenkov, because he's had his man going a couple of times, once in each of the opening 2 rounds, and yet here is Stanley Wright, not only wading his way forwards once again, but he lands some pretty hefty shots once he gets into his territory. And again, with that 20-kilo weight advantage, is another right hand to the body and then some shots to the head. And Suslenkov, for my money, his mobility and comparative nimbleness serves him really well when he's able to get a gap between himself and Stanley Wright. But he's only doing that and treating the audience here to brief cameos of it, because he must be feeling the effects of trying to lean on a smaller man, or excuse me, on a bigger man, when he, for probably one of the few times in his career, is the distinctly smaller man. This is why we have weight divisions. That's why it's such a notable feat as Suslenkov scores with a backhand while retreating towards the ropes. But that's why it's such a notable feat when boxers from smaller weight divisions step up and beat bigger champions. Good left hook off the back foot from Suslenkov. Homicide Hank Henry Armstrong, as he lands another good right hand, and Stanley Wright rocking, but he wades his way forward once again and lets shots go. Almost like a character from a horror movie. You know, he appears to be gone, but then he just resurrects like Jason, continuing to pursue the man. But again, Homicide Hank Henry Armstrong holding 3 titles at the same time. An absolutely remarkable accomplishment. Good right hand to the body. Causes the midsection of Stanley Wright to shudder. Featherweight, lightweight and welterweight with the titles that Homicide Hank held simultaneously. And now looking to bob and weave on the ropes is Stanley Wright. Traveled a long way from Charlotte, North Carolina. He's had the time here to get acclimated, but my goodness, just watch him walk back to that gold corner, and I think by the time he takes his seat on the stool, Andy, half of the 60 seconds will have elapsed.
He is absolutely done. When you look at him, he looks absolutely done. And it's amazing that he's staying on his feet. And I think what he needs to do here, Suslenkov, is he does need to put it on him. Try and stay away from engaging at really close range, keep it at kind of like mid-range, and just let his hands go and pick his punches, because this guy is huge and he's not going anywhere, so you can be quite deliberate with it and just pick your punches and keep hitting him, because eventually he is going to go down, and when he goes down, I'm not entirely sure if he's going to get back up again, because when we looked up at him there, when he'd taken a few, and again he just looked like he was coming apart. He's breathing very heavily in the corner there, so just avoid him being able to lean on you. Let your hands go and then step back, because if he falls in, don't let him grab hold of you or get you on the way down. Just step back. I think he's got to try and press for the finish here, Suslenkov, because it has got to be there. It just has to be.
Well, defiantly, Stanley Wright was the first man to get up off his stool, and he was at center ring to meet Artem Suslenkov, but Artem Suslenkov with a cluster of punches, and again, one of them catching Stanley Wright high on the head, and he is clinging on at close quarters, just seeking a little more respite, because I'm not sure the 60-second interval was enough.
But that's exactly what I was talking about there. He hit him with a few punches, and then Wright came forward and put his arms around him. Suslenkov allowed it. Don't allow that. Throw your punches, get off, and just don't let him wander into you and grab hold.
Corkscrew left-hander sent a shower of red from the face of Stanley Wright, and I'm trying to see whether it's nose or mouth damage that has been sustained, or indeed a cut around the eyes. But Stanley Wright showing his man that he's still up for the fight, and again with that 20-kilo weight advantage, when you know how to punch oh, there's a terrific shot from Suslenkov which sends Stanley Wright backwards. But when you're a trained pro and you've got a 20-kilo weight advantage, every shot is going to be heavy, and again allowing him to lean on the inside, and I wonder whether Suslenkov is taking breathers himself after his explosive burst of punches. But when you're in with a boxer of these dimensions, as a chopping right hand followed by a left causes Stanley Wright to sway once again. It is almost as though we are watching a giant redwood being hewn with an axe, because it's not going to come down in one swipe. It's going to take a while, and there another left hook rocks him. Suslenkov did maintain the gap. Right southpaw right jab was glacially slow. Cracking reverse 1-2 causes Stanley Wright to totter backwards. I think it's damage to the mouth and nose that he's sustained, and that's going to make breathing even more difficult. You can see his mouth is wide open. He's desperately trying to suck in oxygen, but he is literally a standing target. The right hand was inaccurate. He was countered immediately by the left from Suslenkov. Bravely, he steps back into the breach. Nice right uppercut. Shakes Stanley Wright down to his boots, but crucially, he's got back into range. Stanley Wright, and he's leaning on his man once again. Real defiance being demonstrated here by Stanley Wright. But a reverse 1-2, right hand left, shakes him down to his boots once more, and his roots becoming a little less firm. Not really stepping back and stepping in with the right hand is Suslenkov. And again, these shots are having an increasingly pronounced effect now. 10-second clapper has sounded, and we're going to keep an eye on Stanley Wright as he makes his way back to the red corner, because my goodness, here is a man whose gas tank appears to be completely drained.
It absolutely does, and You made a good point in the round there where you felt like Suslenkov leans in a bit because maybe he fancies a rest. I think you're right about that, but if he needs to have a rest, throw the combination, then go for a walk. This guy's not going to chase you. He's not going to be on your tail. So that's what you need to do, I think. Fight in bursts if you're Suslenkov. Nice sustained burst, then go for that rest if you need it. But looking at him across the ring here, Stanley Wright, and looking at the corner, I'm not sure how much more of this I really need to see if I'm in that corner, to be honest with you. OK, he might swing one and catch his man, and he's a big, big boy, and he's capable of a knockout, but those hands are moving, as you described it, at glacial speed. And he's just taking quite a lot of head punches here without really looking like going down. I think they should save him myself. I don't know about you, but maybe one more round, absolute max, or half of the next round, and if nothing changes, just pull him out.
He's desperately tired over in that gold corner. They're allowing him to continue because he's demonstrating that he is a really competitive individual. But remember, boxers sometimes need to be saved from themselves. That is why the corner team are there. Deontay Wilder, who is here this week supporting the IBA extravaganza, is looking for double left hooks. Here's Suslenkov. Remember, it was Mark Breland, the '84 Olympic champion, who was in his corner when he elected to pull him out against Tyson Fury in their rematch. And again, to the point about boxers being who they are, they parted company after that contest. But Suslenkov now is going walkabout, trying to maintain a gap. Good right hand to the body. Clumping right hand landed from Stanley Wright, his best shot for some time. Repeats it. And his corner continuing to encourage him. But can Suslenkov get some movement going? His corner with the cry of to the body, and he does slug in a right hand beneath the left elbow of Suslenkov. But Suslenkov coming back with a right uppercut. But by adopting this posture, he's keeping Stanley Wright in this contest. And when he can maintain a gap and make Wright be out of his own punching range, then really he puts himself in an entirely different dimension. Good right hand to the body, and then another one from Suslenkov. And again, when it's at range with straight punches, there's only one governor up in there. Stanley Wright can only have success when he is shoulder to shoulder, ear to ear with his opponent. A right uppercut rips through from Suslenkov. Minute remaining in this fifth round. It's been a better round for Stanley Wright. He's appeared, even though he's fatigued to the same extent, he hasn't appeared as distressed. And there is a nice shape to his punches, but he's being brought into the round to the extent that he is, because Suslenkov, perhaps rather inexplicably, isn't maintaining a gap between himself and his opponent as he did at the start of the fourth. But again, you can see Stanley Wright moving in slow motion here. And all of a sudden, it's so the energy level of Suslenkov has dipped, because again, it's not easy to wrestle with a man who is so much bigger. Remember the contest between Steve Cunningham and Tyson Fury. Massive disparity in weight, and now Suslenkov is seeking to go through the gears, and a cracking right hand during that combination with an eye-catching shot, but just absorbing them. As resolute as a wall is Stanley Wright, but he's taking an awful lot at the conclusion of that round, and the man can't walk back to his corner in a straight line.
It was a better round for him, though. I make you right there. He let his hands go. That's maybe not quite the right description, but he pushed his hands out a few times there, and maybe he looks a little bit more with it in the corner than he did a couple of rounds ago. I can't quite work out why Suslenkov insists on leaning in and allowing him to lean on. Makes no sense to me at all. As we said, if you're looking to grab a little bit of respite yourself, just move off and go for a walk. You can have a good stroll around the edge of that ring. Stanley Wright's not catching you anytime soon. And every time he gets hit clean, or most of the time when he gets hit clean, it gets that kind of reaction where you feel like the end is nigh, but he's managed to hang in there for this long, and I wouldn't bet against him lasting the distance, but this is a bit of an uncomfortable watch, if I'm honest.
So as we move into the the sixth round, my goodness, losing track here at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Center. But the rounds repeating themselves to a large extent because it's the heavy-handed clumps of Stanley Wright against the more athletic, at times boxing, of Artem Suslenkov. But again, by adopting the ring position that he is, Suslenkov inviting pressure from his far heavier opponent. And his corner continuing to encourage Stanley Wright. Remember, it's his first time outside of the United States competing as a pro. And he's looking to turn the tables on Suslenkov now and pin him against the ropes and just bring him totally square so that he's got a bigger target to aim at. Look at Suslenkov trying to turn the tables and pin Wright against the strands, but surely you don't want to be in a wrestling match with a man who is so much heavier. There's a good right hand from space, and it has a really pronounced effect. It hinged him at the hip. Two right hands slung into the body like he's swinging a baseball bat from Artem Suslenkov, and both of them had a really pronounced effect, and I think Stanley Wright is ready for the taking. The man cannot move out of the way of the incoming fire. Oh, that's a cracking right hand which has shaken him down to his boots. He's remaining upright on the ropes, but a final right hand has detonated on his chin and laid him flat on his back on the canvas. Referee Mr. Sergei Zhurkin has waved it off immediately without administering a count. And it is Artem Suslenkov who has scored a sixth round KO. That was a long time coming, truth be told. And once he had his man going, he was quite literally a stationary target. And he just absorbed a right hand flush on the jaw. Artem Suslenkov taking his man out of there by maintaining a gap, targeting the body twice with two terrific right hands. Those doubled over Stanley Wright, and then he was in no position to defend himself from the incoming fire. He practically had a free shot to finish the fight in round number 6.
And I think he probably would have gone over a bit before that. He landed a couple of right hands to the body, and then rather than step back, Suslenkov, and just let him fall, he kind of stepped in and kept him up. I'll be honest, I think that is absolutely hideous corner work, because that was coming. You could see it was coming. It was kind of miraculous that it hadn't already happened. And I said at the end of the fourth, if you have to, give him half of the next round and then pull him out, because that was always going to happen. And look at him now. He's stretched out on his back. We love a knockout in boxing, but there are some knockouts you do not need to see, and that we did not need to see, because he was losing every second of the fight, and it makes me really angry, because that didn't need to happen. And look at him now getting oxygen. It's an absolute shambles.
So the medical protocol being followed by the ringside doctors here. Subdued celebrations in the black corner just above us. Artem Suslenkov holding it down here after securing that inside the distance victory. Good to see that Stanley Wright is back up on his feet. He has showed plenty of toughness, but ultimately taken out in the 6th round from a knockout that was steadily being set up.
It was, and how can you not look after your man better than that? It's a disgrace, that is. It's an absolute disgrace that ended up happening when you could see it coming a mile away.
So good to see that Stanley Wright is able to move around under his own steam. There's the international belt that Artem Suslenkov has just won as he continues his progress through the IBA.PRO scene. Alexander Sadokov is in position to give the official particulars at the conclusion of that bout, and there is the prize that has just been earned by Artem Suslenkov. Here's another look at the conclusion. And completely unable to protect himself at that point. No resistance within him. And Suslenkov, it's not his job to show compassion or mercy up in there. That's why,
ladies and gentlemen, your referee Sergei Zhurkin
people
has
in
stopped the
charge
contest
of such
at
protocols.
1 minute 44 seconds of round number 6. And your winner by knockout and IBA.PRO Intercontinental Heavyweight Champion from Volgograd, Russia, Artem Suslenkov.
So, Artem Suslenkov declared a 6-round KO victor, and that is the IBA international title that he has just earned. Wonderful moment in the course of his career, so significant to be named as a champion, and that is what Suslenkov has accomplished tonight.
It's a good night for him. He did exactly what he was required to do. It was quite an odd fight for him because he was in with somebody who was so much heavier than him, and he was just able seemingly to soak up the punishment while simultaneously looking like he was about to unravel at any second, which is quite a confusing scenario, I'd imagine, to find yourself in. Do you feel like you need to put your foot to the floor, but then you might be a little bit concerned about blowing a gasket? So I think you'll be quite glad to get that one out of the way, and he just dips between the ropes right up above us. And from two huge men, I think we're now going down to two not quite so big men in Shakobadin Zoirov and Yoel Finol as we see the closing stages again. And some people watching might think I went in hard on the corner there, but that was coming. It was coming for a long time, a long time. As you said, Ron, a brave fighter does not need a brave corner. Do not be brave with somebody else's.